It should be stated for the record that this hearing was an agreed compromise in return for blue dog votes for the budget. You were kind enough to allow us this hearing. Whether this bargain was worth it remains to be seen. I feel a little bit like that T-shirt we see sold on the street that says, "My parents got the vacation, all I got was this T-shirt." Mr. Chairman, you correctly stated in your opening comments that we face grave fiscal problems. And yet, the status quo lobby here in Washington is so awesomely powerful, this Congress will do little or anything about those problems. This hearing is one of our few chances. I wish it were a markup. A number of the comments that you have made, Mr. Chairman, and that we will hear in testimony, do little more than create straw men and proceed to tear them down. Frank Wolf and I are very open on the membership of the Commission. It can be anything you want. We are completely open on the issues before the Commission. Taxes are on the table, and yet this bill has 40 or 50 Republican and Democratic co-sponsors. Tax expenditures are on the table, contrary to what you see in some of the testimony. Everything is on the table because we need to deal with these problems now. Mr. Chairman, you know that the presidential candidates are busy. They don't have time to focus on this. Members of Congress are not as busy, but we're still not focusing. I wish we could have a substantive hearing on Medicare reform, Medicaid reform, health care reform, Social Security reform, but where are those hearings? They're simply not happening. I think the best way to put this is, Mr. Chairman, history is watching, and they are seeing this Congress do virtually nothing. And yet this could be the gravest issue of our time. I asked a senior administration official, I won't embarrass him publicly, he acknowledged there were terrible long-term problems. And I said, well, sir, when does the long-term begin? He said, January 20th, 2009. Well, that's a completely irresponsible attitude. I hope that we don't go down in history as the ostrich Congress, having sunk our heads under the dirt when we knew danger was approaching. I think the best way to show our love and commitment to our seniors, to all of our family members of whatever age, and to these vitally important American entitlement programs is to prepare to meet the need, not to duck. So, Mr. Chairman, that's what this hearing is really all about. I want to commend Pete Peterson, David Walker, because they've shown leadership on this issue for a long time. Books like this, their continued efforts, I just hope that we can rise to the challenge as the people's elected representatives to look beyond the horizon, to prepare for what will otherwise be a very tough, dismal future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. And now let's turn to our panel, beginning with the senior statesman on the panel, Mr. Peter Peterson. I'll get that. Mr. Peterson, thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.